Hey, welcome to learndevopsonline.com. And in this particular video, we're going to talk about how do we increase the disk size manually. And also we are going to cover that the same thing, how do we deal with Ansible as well in this particular video. So let's get it started. And in order to get it started, so we're going to take two machines, by the way. I'm using Amazon platform. And over here, I'm taking two different machines. And one machine, I'm going to increase the size by so increase the size by 5 GB, and another server also I'll increase the size by 5 GB. Both the machines would be already having the same 10 GB storage, by the way, and I will try to increase this to some 15 GB, and we will see it how do we do that with manual. So here in the UI, I can go to the server, and if it look into the volume information, so you will see that that is around 10 GB. Let's get into inside the volume, and inside the volume, let's increase the size of the volume to 15 GB. Now I can just click on actions and modify volume, and it is already 10 GB. So now I'll increase that to 15 GB. And also there is a second server as well, so here are that there are only two servers, so that's where I can modify that. Or else let me start from server, same thing, go to the server storage, and so here you have the volume ID. Now while we are making the changes on the UI, by the way, so now if you do the end-to-end automation, you can do these particular changes from Terraform or some code, by the way, but that's not what we're looking in. Now we have done with the changes with the Amazon console. Now let's log into the server. On both the servers, I'm executing the same command, and you can still see that the size of the mount point is still 10 GB. But however, now let's look into the disk size, by the way. In the disk size, it is telling that is a 15 GB hard disk. I'm using lsblk command here. So to find out the list of disks, which is block devices in the system, ls block device, and that's where it is 15 GB. So now the first thing what we wanted to do is manual changes manually. So that's where I'm logging to the manual server. And now here you have fdisk-l all command also is there, which is to show you the disk information, same like lsblk. Now here is the same two outputs you can see here, right? So now on both the places it is showing 15 GB, 15 GB, right? So that's what you can look in. And you have one partition inside that particular disk, so which is called as P1. The NVMe E0N1 is the disk, and whereas P1 is the partition 1. Now if I would like to partition this particular disk or increase the partitions, so first what I have to do is I have to use fdisk, and I have to give that particular device the device name, okay, the full device name /dev. Now this is the prompt it is going to provide. So here you are going to have is different options, so you can press M to get the help information. So you can use maybe L. I think L is showing the partition types, by the way. That's not I'm looking for. Maybe I want to print the partition table. So that's where I think, yeah, here it is. So print the partition table is the one. So press P. Now you can see there is one partition, and those are the sectors which is there, by the way. Now what I need to do is I just need to first delete the existing partition. Okay, so deleting will not do any changes, so nothing to worry, by the way. So you deleted it, and after that now you are trying to create a new one by using N, and we're choosing this a primary disk, and we're entering the empty value so that it can take all the sectors which is possible. Now it is asking whether you want to remove the signature of XFS. No need, I think you can proceed no. So now we are done. So finally I'm going to give the print. So now you can see that is a new partition which is 15 GB, whereas the old one was only 10 GB. Before deleting the partition it was 10 GB. Now I can press W to save and quit. So now you do a W. So this is how you increase the partition from the actual disk, by the way. Now that's where if you go with the sudo fdisk-l, now you can see that the partition size itself is showing 15 GB. Earlier it was 10 GB. Now if another thing, if you look into the disk for mount point size, it is still 10 GB, by the way. It is not a 15 GB. Now you just increase the disk, but your file system, which is the formatted file system, is still not knowing that particular changes. So that is where we need to increase the uh, size of that particular file system. And also if you look in by using df-ht, you will come to know that it is an XFS file system. Now, so that's where I'm coming to the internet and typing like, so how to increase the XFS file system. And I am coming here, and you can see that there is a command called as xfs_growfs. So I'm going to use the command. and I'll give the disk. So I'm getting permission denied sudo missing. So if I just do that, boom, it's completed. So now you can just go ahead and give sudo fdisk. I think fdisk information is already updated. I don't think so you need it. But just anyhow, we started. Let's complete this. So you can see 15 GB, the disk is 15 GB. The hard disk size is showing 15 GB. Now the mount point is also showing 15 GB. So this is how we have achieved the things manually, by the way. Now the same thing, let's achieve the same thing on the by using Ansible. Now I'm inside an Ansible system. So here Ansible is not installed. So that's where I'm going to install sudo tnf install Ansible. So that itself will install the latest version of Ansible uh, on the operating system. Finally, the Ansible installation is getting completed. Now the Ansible installation is completed. So let's go and try to create a playbook, by the way. Now I'm just creating it locally here. So maybe later you can keep it in some Git repository also and run it. That's okay. But I'm just creating it local. It's a small one. So that's where I'm preferring to write it here. Now I'm writing a playbook here. So just to go with saying name of the playbook. So I'm writing like playbook that increase the disk size. And after that, the host, it comes to host. So generally we provide all, but however I want to run in the local system, so that's where I just would like to go and give it like local host only. I'm not going to run in any other machine. So that's where just tasks uh, or maybe become true, so that I can run this as a sudo and the task is finally coming into picture. Now we need to find it out what is the task which is supported by Ansible, what is a collection which is supported by Ansible to create the partition, by the way, or extend the partition. So for that, okay, let's go to internet and find it out. Um, okay, how can I create the partition, by the way? So let's go and check it out. And also let's do one thing. So let's find out the steps, the two steps what we have done. So which what we have done is first we increase the partition size of the partition. Okay, so increase partition size and increase partition size. And the second one is, so what we are doing is, so grow the file system. So these are the two things that we are doing, XFS file system. Now the same, these two things, let's go and try to do with, or two tasks we'll try to write it. The first task is actually going to be increase the partition size or increase disk partition, right? So that's what we'll try to mention. And we need to provide the task, by the way. So we don't know. So let's go to the internet and find it out. So increase partition size Ansible. So I'm getting a parted module. So I'm trying to going to use that. And if I go down, there'll be some examples usually, right? So this is a parted module, configure the block device, it is telling. Now if I just go here and I'll find it out, how to create a new partition, remove the partition number one. So create a partition with the size of 1 GB, create a partition with LVM. So some examples are provided, but the last one I think more is suitable for me, which is extend a existing partition. I think this is what it is looking for, but here it is getting the information from another command and then it is using that in the second command. So that means I also need to find out the information first in my playbook, and then I need to go ahead and so increase the disk size. So that's where the first one I'm going to get it the size. So let me copy the code, the module, give it here, and also register, store that particular output to stp underscore info variable. So they provided something default. I'm using it, and the next one is going to be is actual increase of the partition, right? So that is the next one. So here is the one that is name maybe, and I can write my own name. So increase the disk partition size, right? So the next one, and also here SDB on the top, I forget to mention that, so our disk name is different. Maybe I can get it from the fdisk-l output, by the way, and I can paste it here. So let me go to the server command line, fdisk-l sudo, and now I can get the name. I can just open the playbook once again, and I'll just give this particular path. file name, this block file name I am providing correctly. This is the partition that I wanted to, or this is the device, by the way. Okay, this is the main disk, and increase the disk partition size. And now again the same module generally, but I'll try to get the example directly from there and I'll copy it. Maybe it is easier, right? And so the device name that we need to provide one keyword, and the number of partitions, and parted end is 100%. Resize, I think this is the major one seems to be using, and state is present. Now here I'm seeing like SDB info, it doesn't make sense. So that's where I'm generalizing it disk info, something like that. Here also I'll mention this is disk info, and also the device name is wrong. I'll simply use that particular device name. All right, done. Cool. So now let's save this and run it, by the way. And while running, I'll just write, this is a playbook I have written, and ultimately I'll be writing the Ansible playbook to write this, right? So that's where, okay, so after saving this particular file, we'll run the Ansible playbook and we'll run this particular one. Okay, so let's go and save this, and Ansible hyphen playbook, which I'm going to give disk hyphen increase.yaml file. Doing this, so you can see that it is actually a failure. What is the reason for the failure? The disk is in use, and that's the reason it can't use it. Okay, now here the fdisk command, whatever I have done, is a kind of a magic where this parted module cannot actually handle it. So that's where what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with a, okay, this module, I don't think so it supports anywhere, so dealing with the running partition. So we need to start dealing with the manually. So that's where I'll show you how do you deal that manually. Okay, not manually, by the way, your own script of how do you deal with the partition changes. If you want to do it automated, how could you do that and all? And before to that, even I see some other option here, something resize is already given. I'm just trying to look in, is there any other option which is there which can suit me, like something like force or something like that, but I don't see any option coming in here. Okay, so I don't see any force, at least all f flags, fs type only is there. Force is no such option which is there, so that's where I don't see it is available. So that is the reason. So we'll start doing our own approach rather than this Ansible module has a limitation. It does with an non-used partition, non-touched partition, but a partition which is being used, it can be done only with the fdisk, by the way. So that's where let's look into that particular fdisk thing, and we will proceed from there. Okay. Now I'm going to show you an interesting option around fdisk. So how to automate the fdisk. So fdisk hyphen L, and here is the one. So previously we have seen manually, but now we are going to see automation. Sudo fdisk, um sudo fdisk, by the way. And this command, I mean this disk, if you provide, you're going to provide certain options, right? So the options I'm going to provide is maybe D for deleting the existing partition, and also after that, new for new partition, P for primary partition. To give the partition number, just enter, it will take the default values, all the sizes. And here also you need to provide no, right? So these are the options that I am actually trying to provide, whereas now I'm not going to save it, but I'm just going to w's for save. By the way, I'm forcing it to quit now. Now the same options whatever I have provided on the right side, that's the characters, by the way. So those particular characters, what I'm going to do is I will kind of go with a simulate those particular things. I'm going to use echo command. First I'm printing D character, and after that new line, and after that I'm just giving partition number one. Okay, and after that n character to for a new partition, and after that it is empty. So that's where I'm going to give new line. Okay, and then by, and also q, by the way. So just for simulating testing purpose I give q. So these are the options I'm providing. And sudo, if you give fdisk to that particular disk, what all the options I'm providing manually, now that particular options is going to be applied to fdisk when fd started. So now you can see there is some mistake. I think line number, okay, so this partition number one is not needed. When you choose delete, there's only one partition, that's where it is getting deleted automatically. So let's change that. Now echo command need to be slightly modified. Okay, one you don't need to provide, whereas after deletion, what we need to do is we just need to provide the new, that's it. Yeah. So now you can see that, so the new has been chosen, and all the options has been came, by the way. right? So this is what is we got. Okay, so yeah, I think there it came. That's fine. So n is the one that we want, new one I wanted to choose. All right. So then now the same thing I'm going to put it in my Ansible, by the way, and I'm going to run this as a shell command now, rather than the previously we went with using the parted module. Now I cleaned up all those things, and now it's going to be go with uh, shell command directly. So that's where recreate partition I'm telling, and Ansible dot built-in dot shell collection I'm going to use, and then that command. So now in the previous echo command I'm actually trying to use is a q, right? So that may also need to be modified. Now after that, maybe, yeah, that's what, like that q needs to be modified to w. If you use w is save. That's where the real action will come. Let's do one thing. So let's run only this much, and even before running this, let's get the information about what is the uh, existing information. And sudo is not needed because this is a playbook we already given become yes. It's not needed. So that's where sudo fdisk hyphen l, if I give sudo fdisk hyphen l, you can see that the partition size is the last line is showing 10 GB only. Now Ansible playbook, let's run this particular playbook. Now you run this, and after that you go ahead and look in the fdisk hyphen l, you will see the increased size now. Now you can see that partition last line is showing it is 15 GB, and end is actually the number is increased. Now our partition is increased. You're running this particular command, it's the partition is increased. So now we are actually going with only single scenario, maybe assuming that single disk is actually having a single partition. Most of the time that is what we do generally in the uh, in the servers, usually, especially on the cloud. Now coming to the second task, it's going to be XFS, by the way. So it's going to be an XFS module or any file system module, I think. So it's about file system. So that's where let's search it in a better way. So let's go with saying file system, deal with file system module or something like that. Maybe I'll give like, file system grow or something, Ansible module. So now this where I just got it, like file system module is there directly. I'm opening that particular file system module. Now if I come down, I'll find out the examples. So here is the examples. I'm seeing it here. Okay. And yeah, so let's go and try to, there is a resize fs option is there. And I will simply use this particular, I don't see any examples with resize fs, but I'll try to write my own and we'll see how it happens. Yeah, so let's go and try to create copy this and create that particular task accordingly there on the here, yes, on the playbook side here. Increase or resize file system, resize the disk size, everything is fine. And yeah, there it is. And fs type, so there are different fs types will be there. File system type, I think we already know from command line previously when we do manually, it is xfs. But let's get the information from the from the documentation. And also the disk is, the name has to be given proper, the right disk. So this is the disk. And let's go to the fs type, by the way. And fs type is telling these are all the different file systems it support. So xfs is there, and you provide xfs. All right, mostly we're looking for resize, so that's where let's look into the option of resize, yeah, resize to fs. I can see this is a boolean, you provide true or false, so that's where I'm providing true. All right, that's it. Save it, and now you go ahead and run it. And even before running, maybe uh, okay, let's run it. So I think we have the output previously from the console output. That's okay. Now your playbook is completed. You give df-h, you can see that it is actually increased to 15 GB now, completed. Okay. And also let's compare the previous output, by the way, when we started. So it was the df-h, you can see it was 10 GB, 10 GB, and everywhere it is showing 10 GB. Now it is actually going to show that as 15 GB. All right. So this is how you can achieve the things by that. All right. So see you in the next video.